A city barricaded and trapped in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, unstoppable creatures of the night that with one singular howl have all hair standing on end, and a government revealing its inhumane corruption through the lack of care for those still alive. This is the deadly world of Dying Light. In a time where the post-apocalyptic genre was so flooded that I believed there could be no more innovation on the topic, Techland graced us with a masterpiece that was their take on the genre. When Dying Light first dropped in May 2013, we were given the opportunity to see a survival game in a new and fresh lens. The choice to create a world in which your primary mode of transportation is parkour, it was definitely one hell of a risk to take, especially with a map that wasn't huge per se, but it was definitely big enough where this could have been a problem. But the way that they integrated the parkour system and assisting tools such as the grappling hook, which yes, it was game breaking, but it was fun as fuck. It always made me feel as if I never needed a car anyway, although I'll talk about that topic a little later. There were multiple ways that they helped the trip from mission marker to mission marker feel as if it wasn't so taxing. You could venture into the vast unknown and find hidden treasures beyond your wildest dreams and break 6,000 lockpicks along the way. Or you could choose to participate in smaller side missions along the way, whether this was a simple rescue mission of an innocent civilian or being attacked by Rise's men, an interesting, important character who I will get into a little bit later. Or you could go and clear out a safe zone of infected and re-secure it. These smaller tasks made the trip feel as if they weren't so time wasting, and as if each and every single second was being utilised, while also making it fun. It's a simple but effective system that makes the player feel as if there is never a lack of things to do. And this alone helped me feel like every decision that I made was truly my choice. Yes, sure, you're playing the main mission right now, but do you really have to? Sure, you could do that if you want to, but why not go do some side mission about some guy who wants a tower activated and beat a bunch of zombies along the way, or go on the bridge and just clear out the entire bridge? Or why not go explore an abandoned building and find rare chests and stuff that can help you upgrade your weapons and find new weapons and stuff like that by raiding the back of cars? Or you could go out there and try and find hidden stuff for secret weapons, which there is one that is by far my favorite that I'll get into a little bit later. But this stuff here, this is the near endless opportunities that an open world with roughly 57 hours of gameplay can really give you. The huge world combined with countless areas to explore and uncover meant that you could boot up the game and immerse yourself in this world for hours. And even if you were getting to a point where you're feeling kind of bored, the ability to play the game with friends only served to enhance the experience that you already had in a whole new way, especially in the DLC, which is to date one of the best games with the DLC that is actually worth buying and actually worth playing. It gave us a new and wonderfully written story while sticking to the same protagonist. And with this map being a lot less city-like and a lot more countryside, we were given a different mode of transportation to compensate. And even without the story, you had multiple options and places to explore and uncover. Like my previously mentioned favourite weapon of all, the EXP Caliber. For anyone who's played Dying Light knows exactly what that weapon is and how long it took to get. You had to wait for like 7 minutes, was it, in order to get this thing? You had to sit there by a rock holding square ages until you eventually got it. But when you did, man, was it worth it. Because when you use that weapon, a charged shot against enemies, those fun enemies would fucking yeet on the other side of the world, and it was just the best thing to witness when I was 13 and wanted to fuck up a bunch of shit. Or even in the DLC, the following, there was another hidden treasure that you could find that I spent hours upon hours upon hours of using, and that was the teleportation button. I know it sounds so simple, but I remember creating a whole game just based around this one thing. Essentially, it was like a being chased by the murderer type of thing, but with teleportation buttons, and you would use the teleporter to try and run away from the guy who's trying to kill you. It was just simple things like that that really made this game feel like, even if you didn't want to explore or do anything like that, you could always invite a friend and just do whatever the fuck you wanted, because this open world game gave you the opportunity to do that. And yeah, sure, with it being a post-apocalyptic wasteland, it's not like you exactly had a bunch of choices of what to do, but you could find the smallest thing and just make fun of whatever the fuck you wanted to do with it. And that is what I love about an open world game, is the choice to be able to do that without feeling trapped as in I need to be doing the story, playing that game and being like, that's all I can do is just play the story. But then again, what open world game isn't like that? So I don't know, but I still found it enjoyable. I still loved the experience that this gave me, especially the fact that I am such a huge fan of post-apocalyptic games, and just that that theme in general. Another thing you could do if you wanted to stray away from the storyline of the game is you could go out and find the best blueprints and try and enhance your weapons in the best way possible. You could upgrade your character and gain a flame-throwing knife if you wanted to. Like, that is completely up to you. Or you could upgrade your parkour skills, but with every parkour move that you made gaining XP, it really did help bring that up. Or even simple stuff, like I remember when the duplication glitch, I don't know if it still exists, but when it was around, I remember just playing around with that. And as much as this duplication glitch was game breaking, sure, it definitely did give me hours and hours and hours of content to have fun with. You know, I would secure a package and then I would duplicate it 1,000,001 times and then sell that and get a bunch of money. But that was 5 hours worth of gameplay right there. Or you could go on the broken bridge and completely clear it out from zombies, especially when you put the EXP caliber on top of that. It really made it fun. Throwing zombies off the side of bridges and just watching them fall to the ground. And then you would also feel the satisfaction of knowing that you completely cleared out the bridge entirely of zombies. Even though you didn't really get anything out of it, it was just a really rewarding experience to see that and know that you completely cleared that out, especially with friends. So again, it was fun. Having all of these options with friends on top of that, it helped solidify the love that people grew for the game. Even after the story was finished, you could go find other things to do that meant that this game was more than just the 57 hours of gameplay that it says you get. It's infinite. It goes all the way to the point where you get bored whenever the fuck that is. That is entirely up to you. And no matter how much you played it to the point where you got bored and stopped playing it, it always felt like that type of game where I could go revisit it again and have just the same amount of fun as I did when I first played it, which would only remind me why I love the game in the first place. But then, once you included the amazing story to the game, you now have the recipe for sleepless nights, late gaming sessions, and I haven't even talked about the best part yet, but I want to talk about something else first. Now, I don't want to get too lost in the amazing start to this game, but it would be a cardinal sin to at least not mention it. When you first boot into Dying Light, you were given a little backstory on how a zombie outbreak caused a thriving city to become nothing but a shell of its former self. And what a fucking intro, man. Not only did it give us a brief introduction on what happened, but it also tells us what we're in store for with both the virus and for the global relief effort, better known in the game as the GRE. We play as Carl Crane, a GRE operative that is tasked with finding someone within Haran called Kadir Suleiman, who you soon find out is under the alias Raiz. Kadir initially worked for the GRE when the town was first taken over, but later turned on them when he asked his brother to be extracted from the plague-ridden city to no avail, which led to his brother's inevitable demise. And of course, in bad guy fashion, he blamed on the GRE. The game opens up to a quite intense cutscene that helps us understand just how little Carl knows about Haran. With Carl parachuting down into the city, eventually he gets caught on something and is forced to release himself from the parachute, and the height takes the wind out of him. Within seconds of him being in Haran, he was beaten up by Raiz's men and in a flash moment of fight or flight, pulls out his weapons and threatens to shoot. This action puts instant fear into the men, but not for the reason that you think. One of the things we understand about being in a zombie apocalypse is that we must do everything that we can to survive, and that includes understanding the best way to avoid these bloodthirsty little pricks, or brain-hungry little pricks, I guess. And as Carl is not yet familiarized with the type of pathogen that is plaguing Haran, he makes the uneducated choice to shoot multiple times. The loud noise evidently attracts the zombies, which is what Raiz's henchmen were fearing all along. The zombies then eventually manage to get a hold of Carl and bite him, infecting him with this pathogen. And unlike other zombie viruses where the moment that you're bitten you're instantly fucked, with this one, when you're bitten, you're able to stop yourself from fully turning using something called antizen. He's then rescued by two people who try to take him, and in an intense battle with the zombies, we see that the guy gets overpowered and eaten alive, while the other person, Jade, is screaming over the loss of her friend. With the first 10 minutes of this game, you're instantly hooked thanks to all the multiple parts at play working together like a well-oiled machine. It's not just that one element is better than the other. They all work together and complement each other in an effort to enhance the overall experience. The parkour elements in the game wouldn't make sense if the map was nothing but open land, and in the following, that is exactly what we get, open land. So this is when it would start to be a problem, except they gave us a way to compensate through a car, or whatever you want to call this thing. Let's just say vehicular transport, but continuing on the theme of balance. You are never low on resources, because you are encouraged and rewarded well for exploration, but you never feel like you have too much either, and that's because you're able to sell the stuff that you find, and you're able to use that as a way to buy more stuff. So the excess resources that you are finding, you're recycling and using it to buy a better weapon or something like that, which again only encourages you more to go explore, especially with the fact that even though this is a completely open world game, it doesn't bombard you with zombies every corner that you turn, which would make even the tiniest task a painful experience. However, it does give you enough to give you that eerie feeling and make sure that you're watching your six while you're trying to open up the back of a police van, or a chest, or whatever it is that you're trying to do while exploring. exploring. But if you really wanted that challenge, and that's what you find the most interesting about a zombies game, then you have my previously mentioned favourite part of the game, nighttime. As dusk rises, the city starts to fall into a shadow. Those that are still alive desperately retreat to their safe zones in order to survive them. The night crawlers. But with each second that gets closer to night, your chance of survival falls dramatically. For those that are finding daylight too easy, nighttime is where the game goes from cool survival game to fucking survive game. The Nightcrawlers were a welcoming addition, and when you first play, these little shits come out of nowhere and scare the living hell out of you. And with most missions being able to be played at whatever time, especially side quests, you could choose to optimize your gaming experience without even having to touch your difficulty settings. Just choose if you want to play day or night. Although it wouldn't hurt to play around with the difficulty settings every now and again. And the gore. My god, if you want a game that is nothing but gore, then this is a game for you. Bashing heads, breaking legs, chopping limbs, decapitation, neck snapping, and on and on and on. This is the type of game that parents would use as evidence to say that games turn kids violent. So if you're into those type of games, there you go. Even 10 years later, I still find myself playing this game and finding it just as fun as I did when I first played it. Sure, the graphics aren't anything to be in awe about, but that doesn't matter when you have a game so rich with dialogue and gameplay that it's still beating games that are coming out to this day. An open world game that actually feels like an open world game with a multitude of things to do, and that being completely up to you with what path you want to take. You never have a dull moment where you feel like turning this game off and never playing it again. If you're getting bored of the story, just move on to the side missions, and if you're getting bored of the side missions, move on to bashing zombies senselessly. And if that was starting to get boring, play with friends, do all that all over again. Or even then, if all of that was boring, you have Be the Zombie, where you get to literally beat a Nightcrawler. That mode literally caused a whole theory saying that Nightcrawler was Kyle Crane. A side game caused an entire theory. And for those who may not know, there actually were some fan-created maps that you could go and play for this game as well. And I tried to play those, and there were some that I really did enjoy. This game really did give birth to an entire community of people that just fell in love with this game instantly. So much so that they needed to bring out a DLC, which the DLC did even better. It just sucks that the second game was not able to capture the same magic that the first one had. But now hopefully you understand just how deadly the world of Dying Light really is. Until then, here's what's on next.